Hey, Scott. Take yourself off mute.
Got it.
We are live.
Woo!
It is finally 3:00 and we are live. I'm making sure people can see us.
Mm-hmm.
Super excited about our guest. Are you excited?
I'm live from my bathroom right now because I have a toddler that just woke up from nap time.
I love it. I love it. Okay, let me make sure people are seeing us on here, and then we're going to start introducing our guests. You have the music ready to introduce our guests?
You know I do.
All right. Let me double check that everybody can see us. Thanks for joining us. It looks like we have quite a few people jumping on here already. So we already got 19 people. So let's give it 2 or 3 more seconds, and then we'll start introducing people.
I like it. Right. So what are you wearing today?
Oh, yes. We forgot to tell people it was black tie today. So I have my sequins. This was actually my Vegas outfit. So it's my sequins black tie outfit. How about you, Scott?
I have a tuxedo jersey and a blazer on.
I like it. That is very fancy. I like that this black tie was your idea.
Yes, it was. We want to be fancy.
Yeah. So Scott's actually been saying that we should maybe make these themes. So if you have a theme, let's tell everybody real quick. We'll start bringing our guests on here, but while people are still jumping on, let's tell everybody our plan for today.
So the goal is to ask our executives, how they got to Kansas City and a little bit of background about their company, along with the top 2 things that drive revenue to their organization and how they're really just handling business day to day. And then our final question before we do live Q&A is, what is their kryptonite in the kitchen? What is it, something that you shouldn't be eating, but you're eating because the kitchen's there all the time?
Okay, I like it. And make sure you're asking the live questions while you're here, because we're going to be able to ask all these people while you're on the show your questions. So, all right, let's get ready. You got your music ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, play the music.
Here we go.
Miss Courtney Thomas.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Courtney. Who's
trying to listen to music to jam out here.
Courtney, do you want to tell everybody who you are and where you come from?
Hi there. I am Courtney Thomas, and I am the president and CEO of New House, which is one of the domestic violence shelters here in Kansas City. I'm originally from North Carolina, but I've lost my accent at this point. Been here in Kansas City for 17 years, and so glad to be joining you all today.
We're excited for you. Our next guest is Miss Toniann Richard. Woo!
Hi, everyone. I'm Toniann. I'm from Central Kansas and went to Baker University, which is what took me to Kansas City. And I'm the CEO of the Healthcare Collaborative of Rural Missouri. We're a safety net, social service integration program for rural communities.
And our next guest is why don't you introduce Jennifer? I don't know how to say her last name.
Dehan. Whoa, look at that picture.
Nice to join everybody. Yeah, that name can be a little confusing from time to time, but I've been called worse things. Don't you ever worry about that. I am a Kansas City native. I was actually born and raised in Overland Park, so I'm an OG. I moved away after college graduation to Dallas, Texas, and to the Eastern Shore of Maryland, but ultimately knew that Kansas City was home. So glad to be home. I've been back here for about 25 years, and I am an owner and president of Velocity Staff, which is an IT staffing company here in Kansas City.
And our final, what do they say, last but not least, our final guest, Miss Brandy Burch.
Brandy, you want to give us a little background on your company?
Sure. So fun. So I'm Brandy Burch. I am People Ops at Limelight Health, and Limelight Health's out of San Francisco, but we have team members in 15 states across the nation. I'm the only one in Kansas City. Born and raised in Kansas City, and been in the Kansas City business community my entire career. Glad to be here.
All right, so Courtney, we're gonna start off with you, and the first question was that music even good?
It was so good.
Loud?
I think we should make sure everybody knows we have our drinks too.
I know, right? Should we cheers?
Cheers.
Should we toast? Yeah, toast.
Cheers, everybody.
All right, take the stage, Scott.
Okay, so Courtney, you're in the non-for-profit world, but like any non-for-profit, it's almost kind of needs to be run like a privately held business. What are, kind of give us a little bit of the 30-second overview of your organization, and what are the top 2 ways that drive revenue for the operating expenses for your organization?
You're absolutely right, Scott. So many people assume that a nonprofit organization doesn't generate revenue or generate a profit. And if you're not running the organization like a business, then you're quickly going to go out of business. So having that business mindset is so essential and critical. At New House, we are a domestic violence shelter. We provide 88 beds of safety every single night for survivors of domestic violence. And that includes women, children, and men. And that's a surprise to many people that the shelter would house men and take men into the program. But domestic violence doesn't discriminate against your gender, your age, your socioeconomic background, your educational background. And so for us, the focus of our work is really providing individuals with the tools necessary to overcome significant trauma and to become self-sufficient in the future. So we provide on-site therapy for adults and children. We support them through the court system. So we have court advocates assigned to each of our survivors. Everybody gets a case manager when they come in the door to help support their long-term growth and transitional housing and that sort of thing. But one of the elements I think that makes us most unique is we provide 8 to 5 childcare every day for the survivors in our program. We have an on-site school for children up through 6th grade, and that is definitely one of the differentiators for us. As a nonprofit, our revenue streams are heavily reliant on government and grant funding, as well as individual donors. So it's important for us to really make the connection for the community that domestic violence truly is a community issue. It's not a problem that one person, one organization can solve, but domestic violence impacts everybody. 1 in 4 women will be the victim of domestic violence in their lifetime, and 1 in 7 men will be the victim of domestic violence. So someone that you know and love and care about is living this life right now.
Toniann,
Courtney, a shout out real quick. I had a girl on my Facebook the other day that went through it, and I immediately reached out to Courtney because I didn't know what to do. I think right now domestic abuse is whatever's going on and everybody being together a lot, it's kind of a problem right now. And Courtney was ready to drop everything and help this girl. So I do want to give you a shout out on that.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if you all saw on Twitter today, the Kansas City Police Department indicated since the end of March, so March 28th through today, that domestic violence calls are up 22% in our community. And oftentimes, people think for us at the shelters, calls are actually down because people who are experiencing abuse can't get away from their abusers to make those calls. And so for some folks, they're like, oh, great, your numbers are down. No, when numbers are down, that's a sign of bad things, not of good things. And so we still have a lot of work to do, and it takes us all working together to solve this problem.
So Toniann, in the same theme of taking care of others, what does your organization do, and what are the top 2 ways that you drive revenue for the operating expenses on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So I would echo Courtney's statement about leading a nonprofit. I think a lot of times people think that it is, shoestring budget, and you can't reach a lot of people, and it's hard to do good work. And I would agree that nonprofits have to work on less dollars usually, but I had a board member tell me once that nonprofit is a tax status, not a business plan.
Yep.
And so we really took that to heart. And felt like the investments that were made through grant dollars to our organizations, we treat them as investors. They're people that are investing in the programs and services that we offer. And they have equal weight in giving us feedback and helping us to be successful. So nonprofit world is definitely different. It's the only thing I've ever done. So it's the only thing that I know. And I'm happy to continue to stay in that space. We are a safety net organization. We serve primarily low income and Medicaid families and individuals. We have 4, soon to be 5, federally qualified health centers in West Central Missouri. Closest to Kansas City is in Buckner, Missouri. We do primary care, dental, oral health services, mental health services. We have 2 psychiatrists and 4 therapists on staff. And then we're also in 2 school districts, and we have a mobile dental unit as well. And our biggest stream of revenue is actually grant dollars. So we're about 60% funded by grants, 40% funded in fee for service. And ideally in the next 3 to 5 years, that would switch. We would be more 40% grant funded. I've been with the organization since late 2007. We had $100,000 budget and some lofty plans and goals. And this most recent year, we approved a $7.5 million budget with about 80 staff. So yeah, rapid growth comes lots of heartache, lots of sleepless nights, but service is what we're here for. And I think that's what continues to drive our staff.
So Jennifer, with the pandemic, I think it throws your business in a huge, interesting situation. But also, when you look at the coming in and out of a recession, your industry is a little bit of an indicator on how that goes. So, do you kind of want to share with everyone a little bit about your business and what are the things that you do that drive revenue for your organization?
Sounds good. Thank you. We're in the IT staffing industry. We also work a little bit outside of ICT, but I think the big thing is employment's a roller coaster ride. We've been through quite a few interesting scenarios since I began my career in staffing, from some of the economic downturns in the 90s to September 11th to the financial downturns, 2008, 2009. But this is definitely a very unique situation. Many staffing companies, many companies went through mass layoffs. And honestly, contract workers tend to be the first people let go. But that's kind of the nature of our business. We're staff augmentation. We're meant to be flexible. And so we're also one of the first to come back. So it can be difficult. You have kind of the roller coaster ride of working with a number of people who get laid off, and you want to help support them and their needs. But it's also a great opportunity to explore what you really want to do. You want to be able to kind of follow your dreams. And when you're outside of the working environment and you have to start looking for something new, it's a great opportunity to tap into what is your dream? What are you doing to make an impact on the community? In the job that you were in, was it really your lifelong job? Was it what you want to be remembered for? And so this is a great chance to really kind of do some soul searching, some investing, work with other people in the community and see how you can make an impact. And when the job market opens back up, you're going to be even more prepared to make an impact in the community. So looking forward to the upturn. In the meantime, I think a lot of my time's actually been spent counseling, helping people write resumes, helping people to better decide what they want to do and how to present themselves. I think sometimes, especially people who've been working for the same company for, say, 10, 20 years, they have a preconceived notion of what their role is in this world, in the community, in an employment situation. And you have to open their eyes up so that they can see the fundamental things that they can bring to the table someplace else. So I'm excited for the upturn, but this has been a great time for me to connect with candidates and clients and people that I've known for many, many years, whether they're unemployed or job insecure right now. It's a great time for me to reach out. So I'm going to be there. It's been a tough time for Velocity, certainly, but I've ridden this roller coaster ride before, and I'm looking forward to the upswing and being there for everybody.
Question, how long has your business been around, and do you see any parallels with the recession in 2008?
16 years. 16 years. I've been in the staffing business for 25 years. I actually got my first job when I moved back to Kansas City through a staffing agency. And so I understood the value of what they could bring to the table from the very beginning. Went to go work for a startup, opened a branch in Kansas City. They got purchased by like a big multi-billion-dollar company. And I stuck around with that for a while, and then decided to branch out on my own. I had some pretty strong ideas about what I wanted to do. I wanted to really be part of something that reflected more about who I am and what I felt like I wanted to do in the community. And we've ridden the roller coaster ride. We've been at years where we had top revenues and we were celebrating and exciting about the impact that we're making for people's careers. And then we've had weeks like these past couple of weeks where we're kind of holding on tooth and nail. But the great thing is we've partnered with a lot of our competitors, and they're not even really competitors. There's room at the table for so many great businesses, and staffing is not an exception to that. And really connecting, partnering, and talking about how we can support each other through this so that we can really reach out to candidates that are in need and clients that are in need right now too.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make the point, this isn't your first rodeo.
No.
And so,
Can you
Brandy,
guys see it on my face, the wrinkles?
Well, you got the best camera. You got
You
great
do
lighting.
have a really good camera. Yes.
Aaron got some guys from Joe Goldberg on a circular light that she'll show later. But Brandy, can you kind of tell us about your organization and what are two things that your organization does that drives revenue to keep things rolling?
Yep. Limelight Health was founded in 2014 to solve transactional problems in the carrier industry or employee benefits arena. So our founder was a previous broker. He saw the challenges of the legacy systems and workflows that existed, and then came up with a solution. And we had just recently finished our Series C funding. It was oversubscribed for $33.5 million. We are blessed to be in an area where we work for ancillary enterprise level carriers. We haven't been affected by this economic downturn in ways that some of the other businesses have. We hope to maybe maximize some talent during this time because we are looking for those software engineers and that tough to find talent. So what we were previously experiencing was a really hard time recruiting for those roles, and now having an influx of candidates. So that's not a bad thing to be on. Our biggest lines of revenue as a SaaS provider are license fees and professional services that are generated from those carriers. And I would say for me, we were just talking about transitioning careers. In Kansas City, I've been a financial leader in Kansas City, and this is my first people ops role. And what led me to this role is really that desire to chase what really mattered to me in my roles of a financial leader and seeing how much people really drive a business, and getting that piece right, whether it's culture, whether it's the employee engagement side, whether it's all of the employee systems, is whether or not that person is going to stay at your organization. And then that's what's going to make your organization successful. So this transition for me has been about utilizing those analytical skills and those people skills to help a business scale from the people first side. That's been just a significant change and something that allows me to develop those other skills and to put that operations mindset from an employee management all aligned perspective.
Nice. All right. So what we all know Scott Havens does really well is he often invites leaders into a room, and then everybody is able to network in that room as well. So I want to really encourage you. LinkedIn Live is the second best thing after networking. As far as virtual networking, LinkedIn Live is the best thing. So make sure you're saying hello. We've got a lot of networking going on in the comments, and I just want to give a few quick shout outs, and then Scott will go back to questions. But you can network right here on LinkedIn. So Kim says, cheers. Miriam says, Jen, always the spotlight on humanity and heart above all. Charles, he says, you do great work, Courtney. Haley says, hi, Courtney. And Thayla loves North Carolina. I didn't catch it. I don't know what your real name is, but that's your LinkedIn name. And he said he's still working, so he's not going to join us for drinks just yet. But we're going to get him there. Mike, Christine, Ben, Classy, Beth, Lauren, Brittany, Jill, Laura, Kate, Carla, Nancy, Miriam, Jill, Christy, Lisa, Laura, Carla, you guys all, first of all, every other comment is about how awesome you 4 women are. So T, Pat, Marion, Nancy, and Sue, keep your questions coming. I'm going to monitor this for questions. Otherwise, just say hello if you want to network with other people on here. But if you think of a good question, we're going to have a Q&A here. Just wanted to give a shout out, make sure everyone was taking advantage of that.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Erin.
I know if there's not a surplus of candidates, I know Jennifer's company can help out Brandy's company. So there's revenue there. And, I know that Toniann and Courtney are collaborating a lot as well. So a lot of great connections all throughout the metro, because everyone on this call actually represents a different network within the metro. But since we're all not expanding our networks within the metro, I want to ask what's going on at home, and then we'll do a business question or some Q&A from the audience. Courtney, what is one thing that you've done really well with your organization during this transition? And then secondly, what is your kryptonite in the kitchen you should not be eating?
Yeah, those are good questions. So I joined Newhouse staff in January, and domestic violence has been a mission very close to my heart forever. I'm a childhood survivor of domestic violence. So even though my education, my background is in accounting, that's my degree, I spent my career in operations management and animal welfare and leadership development at Central Exchange for Women, and then had the privilege to join the team at Newhouse in January. So we were already in a state of transition and growth and excitement and really building momentum. And it's been quite an interesting pivot for our team when you're providing direct service. As I mentioned earlier, we're an 88-bed facility. So we have children of all ages, adults of all ages and backgrounds, and people with varying needs within the 4 walls of our facility. So to take the majority of your team and shift them to remote working create some challenges. So we quickly had to step into a space of remote and teletherapy for our clients. And we had to do that when not one single individual within our organization had a company issued laptop. So I think the thing that I am most proud of in terms of our team and the leadership that I've been able to bring to this organization is you have to ask for what you need. And not everybody is comfortable doing that. Not everybody is willing to do that. And I think it's one of the areas that our organization has really, shifted and leaned on so much this year is tell the community what you need and give them the opportunity to step up, because 9.5 times out of 10, they will. People want to be a part of growth and solutions and helping those who need it. So we have received some grants that allowed us to purchase technology to strengthen our ability to work from home. Everybody on our staff just began to use their personal devices so that we can continue to provide therapy to the children at the shelter every day. They're meeting with their therapists, as well as adults meeting with their therapists and case managers and continuing to work on their healing. We also have done significant upgrades and renovations to the shelter. There are many more that need to happen and to come. But when you are housing up to 88 people a night and your population is transient, domestic violence never stops. So we don't really get a break to say, hey, we're going to shut down operations for a period of time to focus on facility improvements. But we launched a campaign around Valentine's Day to remodel our residence rooms. There were 24 rooms that we were striving to fund for renovations, and we received funding for 22 of those rooms. So that has been a really significant improvement for us in terms of the quality of care and the quality of environment that people have within our shelter. Trying to remember what else.
Kryptonite in the kitchen.
The kryptonite in the kitchen. I have one of every food category. So I'm a foodie. I love to eat, period. So, and I eat a lot. Anybody who Erin has eaten with me several times, so she knows, I have full plates all the time. So apple pie with ice cream, I've made that 3 times since COVID-19. So homemade apple pie with ice cream, and I enjoy it for breakfast. I eat it as a snack after lunch, and then it's always, dessert with dinner.
That's a perfect answer. So Toniann, what is one thing your organization has done really well during this transition? And then what is your kryptonite in the kitchen?
Well, I'll start with the kryptonite because it's bad. I don't cook. I enjoy it, but I just don't. I work a lot like all of you. And so my daughter will be 15 next month. She has started cooking. And let me tell you, it looks like I'm a sous chef in there when she's done, the mess that she makes. But she's turned into quite the good cook. I have to say, though, my guilty pleasure is still Oreos. I keep ordering them from Instacart, and Grace keeps saying, "Didn't you get those last time?" Mm-hmm. I did.
Yep.
Mm-hmm, I did. So, Oreos are that's my.
I love how Instacart reminded you that.
Yeah, it's bad. I know when it
Final
says,
answer.
we've already put it in your cart. It's there.
It's like when the bartender knows your name, you're like, "Hey, I don't come here that much."
You must have me
So,
confused
what
with
is
something
one thing?
else.
What is one thing your organization has done really well during this transition?
So I think to tell a social care, social service, safety net organization that you have to social distance is really hard. We are very hands-on with the people that we serve, the communities that we serve, and so that was a huge change for us. Kind of echoing Courtney, we had staff who worked on a desktop all the time and needed to work from home, and something that maybe a year ago would have taken us 90 days to figure out, we figured out in 2 because we didn't have a choice. And so I think that it has pushed us to take a higher level of risk of trying things new that we might not have tried before. I also think one of the things that we do really well is we reset daily. I think all of us out there are just right now doing the best we can. We're doing the best we can to take care of people, take care of communities, and be a response to that. And we know that we're going to make mistakes, but we have to stand up the next day and we need to be there. And so I'm just really proud. Our board has been super engaged in our process. Our funders have been phenomenal. I can't to know that you've got all these people in this really scary fight along with you there's so much humility in that. And so I think just being proud of our people for coming back the next day to do it all over again, knowing that there's still more questions than there will ever be answers, and watching people go through really probably the worst thing that they'll ever see in their lifetime. But we have to be there. And I'm just really proud of all of our people and our supporters and our communities for helping us have what we need to be there. So, and Oreos.
Oreos.
Lots of
Yeah.
Oreos.
So Jennifer, what is your kryptonite in the kitchen? And
boy.
what is something that your organization's done really well in this transition?
Sounds good. My kryptonite in the kitchen. I love greasy trucker stop food. Like the grosser, the better. If it's salty, if it's greasy, if it's on one of those rollers, or if it has the words mechanically separated chicken in it, I probably love it. Not kidding. It's so gross. My husband just cringes anytime I walk into Quick Trip because he knows the car is going to stink when we get back in, Since Quick Trip has all of that closed right now.
Taquitos.
Taquitos, exactly. Honestly, I think it's Frank's Red Hot Buffalo Wing Sauce. Ooh. It's good on anything savory. Like for some reason, it can make the terrible chicken I make actually taste good. If you just douse enough of that stuff on anything, it kills your taste buds. You have no idea how bad your cooking is. So it's actually a saving grace for me right now. Oh, and Oreos, I have to admit, that's a close second. Double stuff, for sure.
They now make mega stuff.
Well, and Velocity's Velocity is a people business. And so much of what we do is about human connection. When you are working with candidates, especially in the workforce that we had been in before, you were dealing with candidates who were gainfully employed, and you were asking them to consider a huge change, a change in their lifestyle, a change in the community in which they came to work every day, the environment they came into work. You might even ask them to be challenging themselves in an area that they've never worked before. And a lot of that comes from that personal contact, that face-to-face conversation and building a relationship. And with our clients, it's the same thing. They've got problems that need to be solved. And they've got project timelines, budgets, maybe their goals of future promotion, lying on the fact that they're going to be able to get the right people in the right place to do the right things for them. And again, it comes through building trust and that personal relationship. So when we're used to being out and about and having that human contact, it's been tough. And especially in this market, a lot of people are very unsettled. They're unemployed, or they're underemployed, or they're job insecure. They're dealing with the stressors of home. I don't care what socioeconomic position you're in. And Courtney, you can attest to this. When you're in a stressful environment, you may have a master's degree, you may not even have a high school education. People under stress go through horrible things. And so you're also dealing with professionals that are kind of in a cage trying to figure out not only how do they do their job search, but additional stresses and pressures at home. So we're really utilizing a lot of online tools like FaceTime and Zoom to connect with people face to face. It takes a minute, but once you start getting in the conversation, it almost feels like you're in the same room. So we've really had a lot of success in doing that. It's not the same as sitting. Brandy and I have been trying to get together for coffee again for like months, and we had our grand plan, and of course now we can't go. So we are working on putting together a Zoom coffee date for each other. So I think that we have the benefit of the tools and resources to actually kind of see people face to face. And then we can pick up with that human contact and being across the table for somebody as soon as the world opens back up.
Yep.
Brandy, what is your kryptonite in the kitchen, and what's one thing your organization's done really well in this transition?
Yeah, boxed desserts. So cupcakes, cakes, brownies, the rolls of cookies, that you can just cut off and make cookies. And anything dessert that I can't screw up. I'm not a very good baker when it comes from scratch. So yeah, anything out of the box. And I told my trainer one day, those cupcakes did not help. So yes, it's bad. If I make cupcakes, I'm going to have several at a sitting with a glass of milk. And so it's sort of like, but it's out of a box. Yeah, anything out of a box. So that kind of lets you know I'm not that great of a cook. And I try to cook, and I do cook every day, but it's just not really chef material. From an organizational perspective, I think one thing that's just a little bit different from Limelight is we were remote first to begin with. So I had taken on the transition to becoming a remote first employee in January when I joined Limelight and had left Net Standard. I had a really hard time at first, so I can kind of empathize with what people are going through right now without the human connection, with trying to figure out your organizational style, with setting up your home office. And I've made a little office in the basement. But one thing that I think that Limelight Health has done well is our CEO has been at the forefront of this coronavirus from before there was leadership within the government or the states or whatever it looked like. We're based in California. Obviously, California had some of the few first cases. We were talking about coronavirus in January. I was providing updates for our employees that travel global. And it was about the end of January where we said no longer having international, we're not having travel, we're not having non-essential travel. We grounded our sales team at the end of February, which was early for most people. And then in March, we closed all of our offices. We had a small office in Des Moines. We have 2 offices in California. It just wasn't as big of an issue for our organization to take on because we were a remote first culture. So some of the things I think we do great is just empathizing with our employees and what they're going through. I mean, some of them have multiple kids at home, multiple kids under the age of 6 at home. They're trying to work without childcare, they have a spouse who's also working. They're trying to juggle both of their schedules. We're really flexible about getting your work done with whatever grace you need to throughout the day. And that comes straight from leadership. So our CEO put out a video recording, encouraging everyone that we're going to be here with you. We're going to get on the other side of this. And we know that you have all of these the additional stressors. Sure, we were remote first before, but we were typically remote as the only person in the home. And you did have an ability to concentrate, and you did have all of your tools to be successful, but now you have the kids at home, you have all of these other pieces. So we have a lot of support channels. We encourage mental health days. We're just really empathizing with the employee. And I feel for the organizations that don't necessarily have that leadership, some of my colleague friends that I've previously worked with have shared that they were getting messages from their HR headquarters. You absolutely aren't going to take something home. You absolutely are going to still come to the office. And then when some type of leadership comes in at the state level, then they're told, okay, now you can take something home. And I think that's just such a different environment than the environment that I'm able to be supported in, to support people in. So I've been really, really thankful for that, and for that leadership that's coming from our organization, and that they were progressive in a remote first environment. I wonder if you guys think that coming out of this, some of the team members will want a more flexible environment, or they will have seen that it actually works for everyone.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's a great question, and then we'll jump into live Q&A.
Yeah.
So, Courtney, we'll start with what is the first concert you ever went to? Please no one tell a story, because there's always a story with it. Just say the band, just say the first concert, and quickly, how is your organization going to handle, when the green light is to go back to work? Is it going to be? Is everyone going to be in the office, or are some people going to work remotely? How's that being done? And then gotten text messages from Grant Gooding and Dennis Burns. I am in the bathroom. My toddler just got up from his nap, and this is the only place he cannot find me. So that's why I'm here right now. My wife's taking care of a newborn baby girl, and he'll sometimes run around and find me. So, Courtney, what is the first concert that you went to, and then how do you see your organization as you guys as we all get back to meeting in person? Great question.
Sure. All right, so first concert was Bon Jovi, and Poison opened up for Bon Jovi. It was awesome. And I think in terms of how we all get readjusted, I think it really is kind of a wait and see. To Brandy's point, I think many people, this has been a trial and error situation for them around work from home. I've always been a leader who has emphasized the importance of a flexible work schedule. People have to have a life outside of work, and the more you allow them to have a life outside of work, the more productive they are at work. So for us, I don't know that much will change in terms of that, but for us, our team, as soon as we are able to go back into the office, we have people who are there waiting on us. So it'll be all hands on deck as soon as the community gets the all clear, so that we can open up our doors to more survivors who need a safe place to go.
Toniann, first concert, and how do you see the transition going?
Well, it was the Oak Ridge Boys. I'm pretty sure. It was pretty cool. I think normal is just out the window. I think that we will be spending time thinking about what makes sense, and where can people best be productive, and where can they best meet the needs of their specific role. I think there will be people that are dying to get back to a traditional office space. Yeah. I think there will be some that would prefer to work remotely, and that'll just depend upon if it makes sense for where we're going, and if that person is disciplined enough to continue in that space. But I think if anything, this crisis has taught us that people are capable of a lot more than we might have given them credit for in the past. So yeah. I think normal's gone.
Agree.
Jennifer, the first concert, and how do you see things transitioning as we flatten the curve?
Michael Jackson's World Tour, Arrowhead Stadium. Oh yeah, I still have my ticket stub, which was an incredible show. I think part of what we've been trying to do in our industry for years is promote remote workforce for those who are requesting it or who can. And a big part of it is even when the market opens back up, finding unique skill sets within the IT industry is very difficult. And I love Kansas City, I love the Midwest, but we're limited. When you're able to actually trust in your people and be more centered on results and not clocking in and clocking out. And don't get me wrong, there are skills and there are resources where it's very necessary to be on site, that your hours are need to be closely monitored because there's service that needs to happen. And if you're not there, it's not happening. But especially with applications developers and in some cases, support engineers, working remote is not only something that can be done, but preferred. A lot of times you're talking about people who are more antisocial and don't necessarily like an open work environment where they're getting constant distraction and they're trying to keep train of thought and work creatively in, say, the software development space. There are still companies out there that are very traditional, and if your butt's not in the seat, they don't think you're working. But we're going to have to really adapt to the fact that there's going to be continued demand for these specialized resources, and we need to be flexible. If they're performing and doing well, let them earn the right to work from home if they feel like they can be more productive, because you will get more out of people who feel comfortable where they're working, feel like they're trusted. That's a huge element to how people perform. So hopefully this is actually a cue to companies that have been resistant to remote working before, that this is something that can work really well for them and their organization and attracting the top talent that they're looking for.
Brandy, what was your first concert? And to your own question that you asked everyone, which is a great question, how do we see things transitioning?
Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. So I'm aging myself, but yes, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and it was at Municipal Auditorium. I think that people are going to advocate for themselves to have that work-life integration. I have been in executive leadership roles where I've advocated for team members to have that flexibility, and it's very difficult sometimes to get leaders to understand that a butt in a seat doesn't equal productivity. And that you will have that loyalty from an employee who is able to integrate their life or have the flexibility to manage their life and work. So I think that people are just going to advocate. I think it's going to be hard for the executives and the leaders of companies to demand that everyone has to be in the same building for them to be effective. And I think for companies that have been global or multi-site, they've known that it works because they've had to have Zoom and breakout sessions and team meetings. But I think for companies that have had to see it work right now, it's going to be difficult for them to say, and especially if their team members actually produced. Now, obviously, if team members were lax or they didn't take this opportunity to really prove that it works, then that'll be difficult. That'll be a difficult argument.
So, Aaron, we're going to open up to live Q&A. But before we do, can you show everyone the recommendation that Joel Goldberg made on the light that you got from Best Buy?
Oh my gosh, it's going to put me in a bad light if I take it down, Aaron.
Oh, no, well, then don't do that. Okay.
No, it's okay.
Look at that.
Ring light.
The ring light.
Ring light.
Yeah, I was like, Aaron, how are you doing that? Your background looks beautiful.
Looking good.
That was kind of cool. So
what was your first concert, Scott?
It was Tom Petty.
Ooh.
So yeah, it was, I think it has a million different names, but it was Sandstone is what we called it back in the day. And one quick thing to add is if you're hiring millennials, a great question is, were they successful at taking online classes? A lot of our school was the ability, right, when it happened to take online classes. I was horrible at it. But if you can take online classes and structure your day, I think you're a great millennial remote employee if you do well at that. So.
I'm taking at least one Harvard class before this is over, just so I can say I went to Harvard. They're free right now, some of their classes.
That's great.
Oh, I like it.
From the girl that didn't graduate college. Okay, so we're going to get through as many of these questions in the next 15 minutes as we can. My first concert was Tiffany, by the way, so really dating myself there. So first of all, Jason Todd just wants you to know there is no shame in chatting from the bathroom.
Yeah, I'm getting a ton of text messages about I'm not near the crapper. It's just
He's in a folding chair. Show him your folding chair.
Oh yeah, this is great. Yeah.
Super fancy.
I love it.
Love it.
All right, this is just a simple hold your hand up if this is you. Laura wants to know who all is actually wearing pants during this live stream.
Well, I have a dress on, so the pants are fair question.
You didn't raise your hand.
I'm not wearing pants.
I have workout pants on with this fancy.
You got shorts, yeah.
So, okay. I have a wonderful question from Judy. And I do want to point out a lot of people are leaving links to do virtual coffees in these comments. If you're down for a virtual coffee, connect with those people and do virtual coffees right now or virtual margaritas. So, Judy says, are the nonprofit leaders planning to participate in the upcoming Giving Tuesday efforts on May 5th? She is also a nonprofit leader, and she'd like to get feedback about how that would be perceived right now to people.
Toniann, you want to take that first, or?
Go ahead.
Okay. I would say that it's certainly something on our radar right now. We are in conversation about how we continue to engage the community. It is an interesting time because we have to balance asks as not to fatigue people. And certainly in this situation that we're in with many people being out of work or it being questionable about the condition, longevity of their business, of their job, you have to balance your asks at this point in time. We've been really fortunate, I think, Toniann mentioned this as well, to receive some grant funding. Our donors have really stepped up to the plate in the last several weeks for us, and we want to be sensitive to the ways that they have supported us thus far and ensure that their support continues throughout the rest of the year and not making too many asks in a concentrated period of time. So for us, that's up in the air at this point. It is a conversation that we're having, but I think it's really important to balance your asks up to this point, what funds have come in the door, and really where's your need? And is the need best from the general individual donor community, or are there opportunities that your organization could seize through grant or foundation gifts at this point in time that don't fatigue folks who are already under a lot of financial stress at this moment?
Yeah, I think we're kind of in that same boat. We have talked about the donor base for a giving program in May. And it really, those programs are driven by individual donors. We have talked about doing a thanks for giving campaign when this is over, really to celebrate how the dollars that have been given to us through this crisis, how they were utilized. And I think that is a place where we can ask people to maybe match gifts that were given through COVID by foundations or larger organizations. But I think for now, the community that we serve and our general population, our folks are going to be pretty tapped out just taking care of their families.
Yeah.
Aaron, what some other questions?
I do. Well, first of all, I want to tell especially our panel, Haley Har, her daughter is a Girl Scout and their sales got cut off with the pandemic. So she will Instacart Girl Scout cookies if anybody's looking. So I just thought this panel might be really interested.
We love Haley.
Yeah.
We love Haley.
Okay. So I have a really good one right here from Kate Brunk. Kate says, and it gets real technical here, so keep up with me. I like the question though. Do you think that this will accelerate the adoption of the fourth industrial revolution solutions by the general population, which prior to COVID-19 were societal concerns, meaning driverless cars, remote digital operations, greater leverage of the AI, et cetera, given the new normal of social distancing?
Okay.
Brandy, do you want to go first? Or Jennifer?
That is my twin sister, and she's just trying to trip me up.
You jumped down it real fast.
That's hilarious.
I got a question for you, Jen. We won't even give her the satisfaction.
Honestly, she actually had read the book, and I read it as well. And a lot of it has to do with social responsibility around technology. And first of all, we have a lot of social responsibility as we get to these points. Let's face it, we're Zooming, we're working with LinkedIn, we're working with all these technologies, and we're driving people to that. And schools are a prime example of it. What's happening to the underprivileged, the people who don't have access to internet, the people who do not have access to technology? They're being left behind. And there's a social responsibility as and no pun intended, the velocity of this thing happens. It's the pace at which technology is changing and the pace at which we're adapting. And this situation is a prime example of where society is going to adapt even faster to remote work and technology solutions. We have to be incredibly mindful of how that affects the entire world, every population at every level, at every education level, at every communication level. So huge social responsibilities. And I think there have to be stewards within organizations, and we have to take personal responsibilities as leaders in our community to make sure they don't get left behind.
I was concerned from the socioeconomic impact of the students who basically went on spring break and aren't coming back. If they were already behind in their coursework, if there was already, maybe a learning disability or whatever that looked like, and they don't have access to be able to continue those education streams because it is Zoom meetings, it is online tutorials, it is online engagement. And obviously they're not penalizing those students and the grades can only go up from here, but that's basically a 6-month window of students not being in the classroom. And then the impact of the lunches. And I know Kansas City is doing a great job and they're providing lunches Tuesdays and Thursdays to the food insecure, but that's not enough. And I just think this makes the gap even bigger. And we all need to be responsible there. And I think in the future, I think we'll think about our carbon footprint. I think this will, we will have the results of the data that shows what happened to the carbon footprint while we weren't driving, while we weren't, it's just, the science is not going to be disputable.
With 8 minutes left, Erin, we got a couple more questions.
I got 2 more really good questions I want to address here. So Brittany says, I think this pause will shine a big light on mental health. Do you think addressing mental health topics in the workplace will become more common moving forward?
I think it depends on the workforce or the leadership. So we have been addressing mental health days and mental health and how this can affect your mental health, just the change in your routine, but it can't be taboo. It can't be taboo within your leadership. It can't be taboo it can't be a bias against someone who's leading the company. So I think it's going to depend on the company, but I think that it could be something that really improves that conversation.
I would agree with Brandy, and my preference is to use the term mental wellness because mental health sometimes has a negative connotation to it. And so really, if we can shift the narrative and shift the description and all join and link arms around mental wellness and what can we do as organizations, as leaders, as teammates, as community, to take a pause, hit the pause button and really focus on helping ensure that people are whole. And I mentioned it earlier, work is only intended to be a part of your life, not to become your entire life. And all too often, work becomes our life and it becomes consuming. And I think for many people, and I would say even for myself, when you work from home, it's hard for work to ever turn off because you, in some cases, have more time on your hands. In other situations, perhaps you feel like you're being less productive or less efficient because you've got the distraction of children. So you're carrying a heavy load of guilt that causes you to push harder and push farther and stay up later and get up earlier and all of those things. And I think that there's so many lessons. I mean, the new that is going to come of all of this, I mean, we will all be capturing and becoming a new sense of ourselves, a new way of thinking, a new way of being after all of this. And it's going to be really interesting to see how we gravitate and grab a hold of the aspect of mental wellness and the role that it plays in our future.
Awesome. Okay, last one, y'all. We've got 3 minutes. Megan Carter says, Jen, and then Toniann, let's get you to answer this one too, just so we have the nonprofit and the profit. With all of this going on in the competition in the market, how does your company stand out from all of your competitors?
One of the reasons why I started my own company is I'd worked for startups. I'd worked in the big multi-billion-dollar companies. And I realize, again, as I said earlier, there's room at the table for everyone. And I think so much as an entrepreneur and somebody who started my own business, I look at what I bring to the table myself, my personality, my approach, the relationships that I build, and the team that I have. And the reality is it's almost like a recipe. There is no other team like our team. And that might be somebody's flavor and somebody's not. So we're going to attract certain clients and certain people because they can connect with us and we can connect with them. And just like some of our great partners in the workforce, literally, they have a unique set of people, a unique culture, a unique set of skills that bring something different to the table. And that's why I love partnering with other people in this industry, because there's so much that can be gained by getting together and doing the best that we can to help the community, help people look for new opportunities, help companies reach their goals. And so I think that the more the merrier. Everybody needs to follow their dream. If they want to start their own company, put their shingle up, they're going to bring something to the table. Even if there's a million other companies that make cupcakes, nobody's going to make a cupcake like you. So I say go for it. Plenty of room.
How about you, Toniann?
And I'm going to go have her cupcakes.
They're store-bought, just so you know.
If they're Oreo cupcakes, even better. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm serious. Okay. So, yeah, I think one thing that nonprofit safety net healthcare organizations are struggling with right now is workforce is a problem. Keeping people well at work, number one, making sure that we have the right equipment to keep people safe. I have peers across the country that have laid off a significant number of staff. And, you know, one of the things that I'm most proud of is that we have our full workforce still going. Now, they're maybe not doing what they did 30 days ago. We have dental staff that are delivering meals to people because we can't do aerosol. So I think just the fact that people know we're here, we're open, and we want to help. And we know that helping right now looks a lot different than maybe how we helped 6 months ago. And I firmly believe that it's helping us learn how to respond to people more quickly, and people are going to notice that. And they're going to remember that. They're going to remember who was there when they were the most desperate.
Yeah, one thing to add, and I'll let Erin close everything out. Usually we do these meetings in a confidential format, and we're doing it live on LinkedIn for a large audience. We're always very protective of our executives' time, and Courtney and Toniann and Jennifer and Brandy have given their time away from their employees and their family to be here. So I just ask that if you are in sales or business development, that you don't use this as a way to reach out to solve them online. I'll use a reference from Joel Goldberg. If you're going to win a game, you need to spend the first 8 innings preparing and the 9th inning executing that. And so if you're going to reach out to anyone that's on this LinkedIn Live, make sure that you're doing your homework and you're not just asking for someone's time, but you're solving a problem. It's a two-way street. And more importantly, I have no idea how this is even done. I don't think anyone on this call does except for Erin. So Lily and James Creative is an amazing organization, and especially if you want your brand to stand out, if you're looking for a company to take you to the next level, Erin does all of this givingly to help others. I have no idea how this works, but I just wanted to do a little plug for Erin and Lily and James. So Erin, do you want to close us out?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you so much to the panel for joining us. Thanks everybody that watched. You guys, we have already had over 500 people tune into this. So it's going to be available to share with your network after this. So it'll just sit on LinkedIn for the next 90 days. Fun fact, LinkedIn takes down everything at 90 days. So thank you so much for coming on. Scott, are we telling anyone who's coming on next week?
We have Grant Gooding, Chris Cheatham, Isaac Collins, and Chris Smith of Athlete Network.
So tune in next week. We're going to do this every Tuesday at 3:00, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.